Hello and welcome to the Power Lunch Live podcast. I keep calling it a podcast. It's not technically a podcast, but welcome to the Power Lunch Live, whatever the heck this thing is. We have 3 or 4 awesome people every week who are sharing what they do and telling awesome stories and teaching us something and having some good conversations, and it's always a good time. Although I do also want to share that while I love being here, I want to be somewhere else. And you should come back with me. So I'm sharing the links. I'm at an event called Collaborate, which is going on this weekend, and it's run by JVIC, which are some of the just most awesome human beings I've ever met. I mean, you guys are awesome too, I'm sure, but some of the most awesome human beings I've ever met. They're just good business people. They teach a lot about networking, connecting. And if you go to guyknowsaguy.com/links, then after this show is over, you can hop on over into Collaborate and be part of that, and some awesome things happening over there. So that's my pitch for the thing I'm ducking out of. That's the great thing about virtual events. You can't say, like, oh, I'm at this event. Well, let me just duck out of it, switch screens, and now I'm doing something else. So we're going to go around the room, do quick introductions, and then get on to some conversation. So switch to this mode. And Sally, tell us about yourself.
Hello, I want to say thank you, Michael. I did Collaborate back in December, and it was an excellent group. Today I'm moving from Phoenix to North Carolina, so it's a really bad time for me, but I teach people infinite banking. It's been around for 178 years. People can pay down debt in 1/3 of the time as normal, and then they also can save for retirement at the same time. I've been on your show before, and the hour goes by so super fast and super interesting, so thank you for having me back.
All right. And Les.
G'day, Michael. Great to be here from the other side of the world. Happen to be in Victoria, Australia, and it's productivity and time management for small business. I wrote a book called Get Back an Hour in Every Day, and I help people get shit done. It's like too much to do, not enough time to do it in. Oh my goodness, who can help? I can. So it's all about stepping forward and making decisions, being a leader, and having the discipline to follow through on what you've said you were going to do, which a lot of us go, I'd like to do that, but never do it. And I'm going, let's get on with it, shall we? Let's just stop the whiffle waffle. Let's do let's create the life that we want and the business that we want. So I'm excited. It's great to be here, Michael.
All right. I want to get one of those, like, I don't know if you ever see the Staples Easy buttons that just has you saying, let's stop the whiffle waffle. I think that'd be a fantastic wave file for everyone to have. All right. And Daniel, tell us a bit about yourself.
Hi, Michael. Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here. My name is Daniel Alfon, and I help entrepreneurs and leaders leverage LinkedIn for their business. So with the hour a day that Les will enable them to get, and after they move from Phoenix to Northern Carolina, they can get more leads and more revenues. It's a very powerful platform, and still most leaders don't have a clue about how to use it.
All right. That is definitely spending a lot of time on LinkedIn. I can confirm that a lot of people definitely don't know how to use it. So So first, let's talk about how to get some of that time. So Les, tell us, share a little bit of your wisdom and strategy in recapturing that time.
Thanks, Michael. For me, this topic is so vast, and it's like, where do you start? And something that's across all of us is email. So let's just do a little topic of email, shall we? Sally, you love email?
I do the Pomodoro method, and I check it twice a day, and that's it. I mean, I hate it.
How cool is that? She's across it. I love it. Daniel, email, good, bad?
Generally good still.
Nice.
I struggle with it, but it's still good.
And I know he needs to go to another event, but Michael, what do you like at email?
Yeah, definitely time stealing monster. I'm a valuable tool, but time stealing monster.
Yeah, for a lot of people, it's a pain in the bottom. See what I did there? I didn't swear, which is unusual for me. The thing with it is you can break it down into 4 things, and that is, as an email comes in, do, dump, delegate, and decide when. And that comes back to that thing of make decisions and be the leader. Excuse me. So if you can do an email within 2 minutes, do the email. Just get it done. If it's spam or you need to archive it, delete it, get it out of there so it's not in your inbox. And we're missing Dona, which looks at the whole thing about delegation. I wish she was here. She would jump right in on this. And that is, if it's not yours and you need to delegate it, then let it go and give it to somebody else. Too many times, oh no, I can do it myself. Oh no, it's all about me. Oh, I'm the only one that can do it. And it's actually a wrong mindset to do. Don't be standing on ceremony. Don't be kind of, oh no, I'm the most important. That's standing on ego. Let your ego go and go, no, I need help with this. We've got a saying in our household, which is, your independence is making you sick. And too many people are stuck in, I've got to do it myself. So delegate. And Donna would actually say, give very clear instructions, get a time frame and get agreement. And she would talk around that, and she's not here, which really upsets me. So delegate. Do it, dump it, delegate it. And the last one is, if you can't do an email within 2 minutes, then decide when you're going to do it and diarize it. Now, there's 2 Ds in there, but that's beside the point. Do, dump, delegate, and decide when. Decide when you're going to do it. So I'm not able to do it now because it's longer than 2 minutes. I'll do it later in the day at 5 o'clock, and diarize it and set yourself an alarm so that you've got an appointment at 5 o'clock. And when it happens to come up, you go, oh, it's an appointment with myself, and I'm able to do the task that I said I was going to do. So those 4 keys really give you the opportunity to get on top of your email as opposed to being underneath it. And there's a stack of things around it, but I just want to throw back to you, Michael. Thoughts, comments, concerns, arguments?
No, I love that. I've sort of tried to do that, but what trips me up is that some things take 30 seconds, and some things take 30 minutes, and some things take thought, and some you can be like, thanks, send, and others are. I have gotten to the point where when I get something that's automated, an email list, a newsletter, whatever, because sometimes I look back, I might want to read that later. Do I want to read it now? No. Archive, because I won't want to read it later either. I might want to read their next email. I'm not going to subscribe, but there will always be another newsletter and another exciting piece of knowledge they're sharing. I don't need to read this one this time.
Absolutely. So. And the other one is, you don't need to reply to every email every time. As people go, but I need to. No, you don't. That's a fallacy. Stop that behavior. And Sally did a really good one, which is a Pomodoro technique. 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off. Just silence everything. Turn your email client off even. Handle what you need to do and then turn it back on. Or handle what you need to do. Take a 5-minute break, walk away from the computer, and then come back. So what you're doing is giving your brain the opportunity to focus on one thing at one time and then go, reset and come back again. So Sally, is that what you do?
I really do the Pomodoro effect for my social media. I get lost in Facebook and LinkedIn. No offense, Daniel, but I like you said, 25 minutes, you're done, get off, go do something else after that, because you can waste a whole day so easily.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. Daniel, give us a comment on time for you.
About email?
Yeah, go on.
I would like to believe that I treat emails, 6 a.m., 1 p.m., and 5 p.m. And when I manage to do that, I think I'm more productive doing them in chunks, and following some of the strategies you outlined, I think helped me with the longer email to grab some time with myself. So I'll try to do that more.
Perfect. I've got 2 businesses. One's in productivity and time management. The other one's in coaching. And when I coach, it's all about make decisions, be the leader of your business, be the leader of your life. So stand up and make a decision. The problem I find with most people is you ready, Michael? Prevaricate or procrastinate. And in that, they tend to not make decisions. I'm going, stand up, make a decision, make stuff happen, because in making stuff happen, you'll create the life that you're after.
Yeah. One thing I run into is a lot of what I do. So a lot of my main business is making introductions, networking concierge. I introduce clients to people they need to know, and I introduce lots of other people to people they need to know. And one lesson I had was, one introduction, I send a quick email. How long does that take? 2-3 minutes. But if I meet with someone and I say there's 7 people you should meet, well, I just committed to a half hour of follow-up for this call. And then I keep a spreadsheet where I track all the connections I make, and when they reply and engage, then I color code those. Well, now I just committed to another 30 seconds per introduction at random times, and so I had to sort of arrest that habit because I want to help with everything I've got.
Yeah,
I had to train myself to be like, I'm going to make I meet a random person, I'll make 1 or 2 introductions, not 7 or 10, because I was spending a lot of time just giving away my service, and not realize just nickel and dime, 1 minute, 1 minute,
yep.
1 minute.
And people want to give. We're educators. We want to give. We want to help. And it's like, let me help everybody. Yeah, good luck with that. You can't help everyone. You can help a certain amount because that's why there's sleep in the day. We need to take the time to put your head on the pillow and take time out, and your brain resets and you get up the next day and do it all again. You try and miss 8 hours of sleep and you end up going, I can't think. Well, it's very similar. You can't do 16 hours in the day. And people go, yeah, I can. I say, well, hold on a tick. How long can you do that and how's your health?
Yep.
Well, there you go.
That is some really great advice right there. So that was awesome. So next we'll go over to Daniel. Tell us a little bit about LinkedIn that we don't know. I suspect we're all on LinkedIn, right?
Oh yeah.
So the basics of like how to log in, we've got that. So beyond that, what do we do with it once we're there?
Thanks. So what I'll do is Michael suggest 5 quick questions. Okay, I'd like you to focus on your profile and not your company page. I would like you to focus on the quality of your network and not the quantity of your network. I'd like you to treat your own profile as a website and not as a CV. And I would like you to focus on content and not advertising. Lastly, instead of paying for a premium account, focus on the time you spend on the platform. All those 5 are counterintuitive because most people will initially think about the other way to do it, but I have found from my experience that they don't really pay. And you have to think about it in a different way, just like about the introductions that you mentioned that are time consuming. I went to the other extreme. I only make introductions if I know both parties well, but I do a double opt-in introduction. I would ask you, Michael, who could I introduce you to? And maybe you would mention Jane Doe, and I would ask Jane Doe, and only after both of you say it's a good match, then I will make the introduction. So I make very few introductions, so it's easier for me to follow up on them. And I follow up separately after 2 weeks with both, because we put our names on the line when we make an introduction.
Okay.
Nice, Daniel. I've got a question. In the early days of LinkedIn, I went with quantity over quality based on sheer numbers to get as many contacts so I can have that vast net. Tell me about your opinion of that.
I went that route and I changed it at one time. I joined LinkedIn early 2004. Okay. So I've managed to make a lot of mistakes, and I think you need to pick either trust or exposure. Exposure happens when you have 30K, when you have 50,000 connections. That means every time you share something less, many people will see it. Trust happens when you know all your connections well. Naturally, most people start with people they know well. They decide they need to go to the quantity aspect, but they never reach the quantity. They are stuck sometime at 3, 4, 5K. That's not exposure, while really jeopardizing our reputation and polluting our network. So pick a side. Both are fine. Either are fine. Either is fine.
Nice.
Can I ask you a basic question? I started in 2019 with only 32 connections, and I'm growing my LinkedIn.
Yep.
What's the difference between a connection and a follower, and how do they become either a connection or a follower? I don't understand that.
It's not that simple. A connection is someone you either sent a connection request to and they accepted, or they have sent you an invitation request and you accepted. by default, all your connections are your followers.
Oh, okay.
Okay, what's a little more complex is that LinkedIn enabled the creator mode, meaning you could have the follow button as the default button instead of connecting. And another quick tip, if you find someone whose content is interesting, you could follow that person and they don't need to approve you. So if you only want to read what they do, you can simply follow them. Within 2 clicks, you can make your feed a lot more interesting without adding more connections.
Okay. Thank you for telling me that. It's just all of a sudden it came up. I'm like, where did that come from?
Yeah, and so the followers allow you to do that quantity over quality, or quality over quantity, while still also getting exposure.
Absolutely. You could have a great number of, let's say this, you could have 32 connections and gain revenues and leads from LinkedIn, and you could have 3,000 connections and gain nothing from LinkedIn. So it's not so much the numbers as what are you doing with them. Have you got a system? You got some follow-up system?
Yep.
And what are you suggesting as a follow-up system, Daniel?
In real life, I would ask you, what sort of content are you after? What are your plans for the next 6 months? Who could I introduce you to? And at one point, without searching anything for less, I would bump into someone or into an article, and then I would share it with you. So I don't scout content for you, but because I understand what's interesting for you, I would find that content, or I would find someone who could be interesting for you, and then I'll reach out to you. It will be in 2 months or in 4 months, and that enables us to strengthen our relationship. And I think many people think that they need to get to an extreme amount of connections without being able to manage the connections we already have.
Yep, nice, Daniel. That's great. So if you run across anybody in small business, send them my way, or they need coaching, send them my way. Happy to have the connection, because I do love a good connection that I can actually go deep with.
Thank you very much. I'll take your offer of an hour a day. It sounds very tempting. So
awesome.
wait for hear from you.
Awesome.
Yep. Yeah. And so, Dan, I heard you say something interesting. I definitely found that in the world of connectors, which is somewhere between 6 people and millions, depending on what your threshold is for what is a connector, there's a philosophical split. There is the carefully curated connector, which is what you do. I did double opt-in and checking people. And there is that might be good. Making the fire hose connector, I guess you could say, which is more my style.
Yep.
And I'm sure there's many reasons for that. One is probably I've found a continuum from extrovert to systems person. So people who are all about meeting people probably tend to, because double opt-in means I got to keep track of who I sent that question to and then get it back, and then no thank you. And I am finding it seems to be one of those no wrong way to do it sort of things. That you make a lot of connections, great. People who know me know that they may get an email with someone else's email on it that says you two should meet. And so my philosophy is most people's emails are on their websites anyway, so I'm not giving away state secrets. And I've curated a connection for them, and they can meet them, they can ignore it, they can put it in the trash, whatever they want. But then the other philosophy is yours, which is more the I'm going to check. I'm going to make sure if I send you a connection, it is rock solid, it is solid gold, it is set the date. There may be a wedding. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on why you go towards the more curated, detailed one as opposed to the you two seem interesting. Yeah, talk to each other.
You said that you become a connector the moment you decide to become a connector.
Ooh, someone consume my content.
So and I think it's very important, because a lot of people have issues with networking, thinking they don't have a network. Okay? Mm-hmm. If they worked for a company for 20 years, they look at you and they say, I was only working for that company. And if they moved along every 2 years, they said, I never studied long enough to have a network. So people have issues with it. But there is a whole continuum, like you said. And I think that the strongest takeaway, or the strongest advice I could give is have a system.
Mhm.
Your system works for you. Don't change it for me.
Mhm.
I struggled with the systems until I found something that works for me.
Mm.
And other people could listen to what you say and go that route. If it makes sense for them, then they must do it. My system is not perfect. My system has to be perfect just for one person.
Mm.
That's it.
And Michael uses Excel, don't you, Michael?
Well, the Google Sheets, but yes.
Yeah, so Excel, Google Sheets. So I understand that, and I'd like to go further into that, but not now. Daniel, are you using Excel or Google Sheets, or what's your system? Oh, ouch!
I was because
oh.
no, I'm sorry. It's not that when you limit it to few people, then you can remember. But if I had to do what Michael does just in the GVIC event, I couldn't sleep at night.
Yep, and I'd beg to differ because that's who I am. I would take it out of your head and get onto paper so you can go and be creative on other things. And that's where that system that Michael says, Excel or Google Sheets, gives you the chance of just sticking it on a piece of paper and going, I'm going to do other things. I'm going to get creative so I don't have to remember. I can visually see it. It's right there and I can get on and do other things. So that's just mine. I'm really a thing of don't keep it in your head. Use your head for creativity. We have a good memory, but there are certain things you don't need to remember. You just write them down, get them out of your head.
I don't have good memory at all. And I readily recognize that. Yeah. Well, and that brings up too, like, if you know your strengths and weaknesses and play to them, like, I don't have a good memory. I know that. So if it's not on a spreadsheet, a note sheet, like when I meet with someone, this new digital form of communication has been amazing for me because I meet people in person and I tend to remember them a bit better if I met them in person than online, but still not that much better. So I'll meet people in person and maybe I'll take some notes, but they're on a piece of paper somewhere and maybe it's in a bag or something. And a month later, I don't remember anything out of an hour-long conversation. Whereas now I meet people on Zoom, half my window is a Zoom window and half my window is Google Docs. And as they're talking, yep. And I don't even, like, I got Fathom and was like recording the conversations, and then I don't have time to go back to the recordings. Even if it takes transcripts, I don't have time to go back to the transcripts. So I'm writing the key things as they're saying them, basically almost transcribing the key points into these notes on the sheet, which has been hugely valuable having that system that I'm, their faces over here, note sheets over here. And when I get 10 minutes into the conversation, I forget the thing they said 7 minutes ago. I'm like, oh, right, there it is. That's the person, or that's the company, or that's the, it's been hugely valuable to have those two. But it's recognizing, because some people are like, my memory's not that bad. I can do it. I'm like, nope, I'm good at some things, and I'm really, really superhero good at some things. Yep. And I'm really, really kryptonite bad at some things. And I don't do the kryptonite things, and I do the superhero things, and that works a lot better.
Nice. I'm curious to hear from Sally, but the question on the table is follow-up, because a lot of people in networking don't follow up. So I go and I do of networking and no one rings. Now, is it me? No, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with there's deodorant, the whole thing. It's all good. But most people don't take a system to actually make the time. And that's why I know Michael, because I went to a networking event and I followed him up. I said, hey, let's have a conversation. And look where we are. Mm-hmm. So, Sally, talk to me.
My thing is, like he was talking about JV directory. I made quite a few I met quite a few people there. So if someone takes the time to say, hey, I would like to find out more about infinite banking, and I quote them, my follow-up is, on the average, my KPI is about 3 months. So I will text them on Monday. I will email them on Wednesday just saying, hey, last week I did something, until they respond to me. And when I started doing this back in January for people in December, my close rate went up by 60%. So, I'm not trying to harass people, but I'm just trying to figure out, is it better to do by phone or by email? Some people, I can't figure out. One of my avatars, which is a really crazy avatar, are ladies over 70. They're my fastest growing group of people right now. They
Nice.
don't text. So setting aside time and calling, and I said, well, and I back to you, Michael, spreadsheets. I'm like, okay, so and so recommended her, and I always say, hey, Miss Dot said you might be interested in this because no offense to what's happening in Texas, a lot of widowed ladies are scared to death of losing their houses to Super Tuesday tax lien sales, and they're in CDs and they're trying to figure out a way to make better money with this. And if you can drop a name, if you can say, "Hey, this person gave me your name," it makes the conversation go much smoother. So, I mean, to me, follow up is especially with the ladies in their 70s. I'm working with their grandchildren in their 20s, and they're on TikTok. And I'm like, I don't even know TikTok, so I have to do a lot of following up on stuff for my.
Did you just say ladies in their 70s are doing TikTok?
Their grandchildren.
Okay, just checking.
Some are.
Just checking. I'm going. I'm not even on TikTok.
There's some. I'm on TikTok.
Nice.
I have an account, and I don't know what I'm doing on TikTok. I don't dance, so yes. So
I don't either. Just so no.
And
Michael,
it's amazing. I've got 20-year-old kids who tell me I don't do email. I'm like, okay, maybe I won't send you an email. I'll just keep texting you. And that's one of because grandma's taking $10,000 CD, not renewing it at 1%. Instead, she's getting 3.5% plus about 6% dividends a year. She's just like, come on, Junior, get this physical done. Grandma's harassing the grandson, and I have to harass the grandson too. So I have to figure out how to reach out to him. So Instagram, I do pretty well on TikTok. I'm not entertaining enough for TikTok, I guess.
Yeah, and of course that's more of a sales process follow up. So like you have to get people and follow up with them. And I used to do that kind of sales in different areas. I've done insurance, I've done car sales and whatnot. Well, one thing I do with what I do, because I don't really sell much anymore. In terms of the way I get clients is people get on a call with me and they'll ask me what I do and tell me they're interested, and then I'll ask a bunch of questions to see if I want to work with them, which is a pretty good way to sell, actually. Yeah, I decide if I want to say yes to them because I only have room for. I have 4 clients now. My max would probably be 10, and I probably want to be like 6 is probably more comfortable. So that's a nice place to be. But in terms of like organization, I like to automate as much as possible and put as much as possible onto the other person. So, for example, with Les, I'm pretty sure what we did was we talked. I said, you should be on the Power Lunch podcast. Here's a link to apply for it. And I sent him the link. And then once he was in there, then there was a system. And that system put him to a date. And then, once you have the date, I have a system for letting people know this is when you're going to be on. And then here he is. And so there was, while I certainly thought about him individually as that interesting time management Australia guy, there was no point when I had to set aside special time for let's follow up with Les now. It was, I'm going to plan the February 25th show. And so that was a block. But, I didn't have to individually say, okay, now let me follow with Daniel. Let me follow up with Les. Although, on the other hand, Daniel noticed it was my birthday and sent me a separate birthday message, which was really cool.
Nice.
But so I do want to recognize that.
Yeah.
But so for those who are out there who are like, oh my God, the system, I can't do the follow up and remembering and the CRM and the whole thing. In some business, if you're in Sally's business, you better figure that out. If you're in real estate, you better figure that out. But if you're more like networking for potential job opportunities or networking if it's not a crucial part of your business, then you can build systems like I have my open virtual coffee because my calendar is getting full. So people I meet and I say, we might have something, but I have a limited number of hours for one-on-ones. Come at 10 o'clock on Friday and meet me and whoever else shows up and we'll connect. I'll learn a bit about you, see if we need to have a follow-up that's longer to see where we might joint venture. And 2/3 of people come in there. I'm like, it was really cool that you're here. You're welcome to come back anytime. We are not doing a 1-to-1. Don't need it. Not doing it. Like, I don't have that much value to give you. You don't have that much value to give me. Because the thing to watch out for is the people have the least to offer have the most time.
Yes.
Unemployed people have their whole week open. And
It's all about the time. Yeah.
So
No, very true. Very true.
Yep.
And busy people tend to get shit done because it's like, I need to get this done. If I don't get it done, it's going to be an avalanche and I don't want to be underneath it. So therefore, let's go. And you take the other extreme where some of the wealthiest people don't have a diary and they go, no, I'm just doing it on the wing and a prayer. But they are at a point in their life where each hour is worth $100,000-$200,000 an hour, and they go, it is what it is. It's all organized and planned, and it's all good. So I really do need to, because we don't have an hour and a half. I want to hear about infinite banking. So Sally, give it, because the term itself is intriguing. Tell me.
It is a concept. It is a specialized, sophisticated whole life policy. So there is a physical involved. So my ladies of a certain age, I call them my Texas Brigade. Unfortunately, they probably wouldn't pass. So they're getting their 121-year-old son, a grandson, Miguel, has brought me 14 more clients because Miguel's started with $500 a month. He's taking the cash value. In 2 years, he's going to buy a very specialized Supra vehicle, use his policy to pay for it. In 5 years, he's going to put a down payment on a house. And at age 50, he's up to his policy. He's now doing $1,500 a month. At age 50, he's going to retire in Mexico with $5,000 a month guaranteed for him. Like I said, it's been around for over 178 years. Walt Disney, most famous person, he used infinite banking to purchase land in Anaheim, California for Disneyland. Currently, President Joe Biden has 6 policies. I'm assuming 3 for him and 3 for First Lady. And, I have another client, Trisha, she's 34 years old, $500 a month. She's going to pay off her house in Avondale, Arizona, 2 vehicles and $11,000 in debt in 8 years and 11 months. And she's like, I'm debt free before I'm 50. She's so excited about that. Most people have never heard of it because it's a secret for the rich. Most insurance agents won't deal with it because you take a cut in pay. I make a lot of money in my real estate. I'm doing upset bids in North Carolina and wholesaling, and I've wholesaled 4 properties in 1 month so far. And I can do this on the side and do infinite banking at the same time. So it's a great thing to look at. Unfortunately, being in Australia, it's an American product. I don't know if Australia does that.
Never mind. I've not heard of it, and it intrigues me. But the concepts may be the same. It's definitely something that is has got a lot of value. I can tell.
In Australia, one of the things y'all do that we don't do here in the United States, you use I just forgot the name of it. How you pay off your mortgages is very different. We have an amortization scale. You guys do velocity banking. Yes, velocity banking, where you pay down the mortgage really fast. Infinite banking is based on very much the same thing, other than it's insurance, and you'll have a death benefit to give to your heirs and everything else. So, I wish we did mortgages like y'all do in Australia.
Got it.
So you're saying if you can somehow get your mortgage from an Australian bank,
Correct.
Is that a regulatory thing that we couldn't do Australian style mortgages, or just the banks don't?
Correct. When you look at your car loan or when you look at your mortgage, it's what's called an amortization loan, where you're paying off the interest much, much faster than you're paying down the principal. So this is why banks will become your best friend and send you letters and everything at your year 5, year 6. Hey, refinance your house, save $200, because the bank's going to get more interest. Banks are not our friends, unfortunately. They want to pay their shareholders and their corporate presidents much more. Australia, how they set up their mortgages, they want the Australians to own their houses faster. And I mean, I used a velocity banking. I bought a car. What was it? Martin Luther King weekend, 2019. It was a used car. I was happy with it. I paid it off in 10 months because I used a velocity banking system, and it's very similar to what is infinite banking. The only main difference is infinite banking has insurance backing it up. Velocity banking is just I use a credit card, 0% that did go to 12%, but it was faster to pay off my car that way. I saved over $2,000 in interest rate using Velocity Banking.
Okay, and that's because it's not pre-amortized, where your principal doesn't go down for the first 5 years with a mortgage.
Correct. So just to give a little bit different with Velocity Banking, I was using the credit card. I was taking $6,000 chunks off of it, putting it towards the car, paying off the credit card, and doing it that way. That's how. I don't know why Australia is the only country I know that does their mortgages that way. In the United States, but if you look at the scale, when an amortization schedule, you actually buy 2 houses by the time you pay off your house in 30 years if you stay there that long. And most people are moving every 6 years, so they never even get close to that yet. But the bank sure is making a lot of money on you.
What a coincidence. People move an average of every 6-7 years, and you don't start paying down your principal until 6-7 years.
Exactly.
How can you win that? Oh, it's almost like they don't want you to.
And infinite banking's not taught in school. Velocity banking's not taught in school. And in my real estate group, this is one of the courses that they teach for free. And everyone's like, why has no one taught me this? And they're like, this can't happen. I'm like, talk to all the Australians. They're doing it just excellent. And when people start seeing the light bulbs go off, they're like, I can change things. I'm like, yes, you can. You can make life easier for you and your family. And
education is a powerful thing.
Yeah, it's one of the running jokes I have with my financial advisor and the folks in her office is, but Dave Ramsey says, because
and that's the scary thing. Dave Ramsey has 3 policies. He doesn't tell his people that. So
and you'll joke, if you want to know if something's going to be bad advice, it starts with, but Dave Ramsey says.
Yes.
It means you usually know something incorrect is coming afterwards. But I mean, to Dave Ramsey's credit, his audience is people who don't know how to spend less than they make. Like they have to learn to spend less money than they make, and they haven't mastered that yet. So something as complicated as buy whole life insurance as an investment vehicle, like they're still making $2,000 and spending $2,100.
And Bankrate back in September of 2021, Bankrate came out saying 80% of Americans have 90% of debt and are not putting 10% away into retirement. I don't want to work at Costco when I'm 90 years old. And infinite banking can help these 80% of Americans. So this is why to have you on your talk round table to talk what's happening with JV directories. My one client, Miguel, is telling all his co-workers at the grocery store. I mean, it's hilarious. I'm like, which department do you work in? Oh, bakery. Okay. And then I know so-and-so. So once someone understands it, they want to tell their friends, their families, and everybody else about it.
Yeah, it's a great, definitely a great concept. I actually, someone else, I had another podcast. So the great thing is doing what I do. I've met a bunch of people who know infinite banking. And every time I mention one of them, I met someone else who does it. They're like, wait, what? You met a second infinite banker? I didn't know there was more than just me. I've heard about them, but I never seen them.
If you want to read it, it's a very dry book, but Nelson Nash is the godfather of infinite banking. He was an economist at University of Southern California. He's got Become Your Own Banker. It's a great book to read, but it's very, very dry. So watch out.
I can imagine. But so I was talking to my financial advisor about getting insurance for my daughter who's 7, and I'm like, wait a minute, so this is better the lower the cost base of the insurance, right? And they're like, yeah. Ooh,
yes,
I got a kid.
One of my grandmothers in Killeen, Texas, it's her granddaughter. She's 27 years old. She's a single mother of 2 kids, and the grandmother's taking the policy out on her. And now the daughter who works at the dollar store, we worked on it to save up money. And her dream to buy a house in 5 years, she's like, my kids are going to have a backyard to play in. So, everyone has a different dream. I mean, Miguel wants this Supra. I don't even know what a Supra looks like, but he knows exactly what color and what he's going to have on it. My friend Trisha, whose husband retired from the military, she lost her life insurance. They're going to buy a second Wave Runner because they have 2 teenage sons. So yes, each person has their own dream.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Even just the basic, basic addition multiplication. I had someone reach out to me with the situation of, family of four, $46,000 a year income, no savings at all. How can that person invest? I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know how you can live, let alone invest. Because I live in Connecticut. $46,000 a year will buy you a fairly nice refrigerator box, and possibly you'll be under a bridge, so it doesn't rain on you. But probably not. I don't think you can afford the space under the bridge for $46,000 a year. I think you'll just be next to the bridge. So my first thing was like, make more money. But the advice I gave them was, assuming you're paying your bills, assuming you're actually in an apartment and you're not just running up credit cards at the end of every month, and you're somehow living on that $46,000, make another $100 a month, make another $100 a week. Which, if you drive, DoorDash pays about $25 an hour. DoorDash 5 hours a week. Put that in a separate account. Don't touch it. And whatever, CD, savings account, money market, but just put it there. Don't touch it. Do that for 2 years. Put away $100 a week for 2 years, and now you've put away $10,000. Buy a house. You get an FHA loan with 3% down. Buy a house. Stop paying rent, and now you're no longer on the rent merry-go-round.
Correct.
Because rents in America, I think on average, have gone up like 30% in the last year. So for renters, it's bananas.
I read a Kipling letter. I read Kipling every time, and they're talking about how many banks are not foreclosing on these people who haven't paid during COVID and everything, because they don't want the economy to turn, and there's just no housing. I mean, rent to find a place to rent, to find a house to rent. I mean, it's a little bit scary. So yes.
Yeah. Well, and of course, the other thing I suggested, I forgot the rest of the advice, which was take that $10,000, find a 3-family house, buy that, live in one apartment, rent out the other 2, because it's a better time to be a landlord than a renter. And the bizarre thing is, there's still 3-family houses available around here for $150,000 in an area where the average house is $300,000 or $400,000, because it's not in the right neighborhood, or it's dated or needs a bit of work. I don't mean like falling down, rain falling through the roof. I just mean like it's got avocado refrigerators and wood paneled walls. And
they're going to come back in fashion sometime.
Yep. Yeah.
You mentioned, Michael, you were in Connecticut, but you actually moved to Connecticut.
I moved from Massachusetts, which was still a shock. It costs surprisingly much more to live in Connecticut than Massachusetts.
What's the best piece of advice you would have liked to hear before moving to Connecticut?
Oh, great question.
Stay in Massachusetts, but that was just my personal situation. That's actually against Connecticut. I was in a good place to be and moved for the wrong reasons. It was one of those, like, things don't seem to be good. Maybe they'll be better there. I was working 80 hours a week and wasn't making the money, and everything was panic. I'm like, maybe it'll be better in the next place. Surprise, surprise, when you move away from your network contacts in a familiar area and nothing else changes, you're not better. Let me give up everything I built and start over. Maybe that'll work better.
But you turned things around. Maybe if you had stayed in Massachusetts, you would not be the guy who knows the guy.
That is also possible. Yeah, becoming the guy who knows the guy, going to a place where I had no network at all was an asset. Because when you have nothing, you'd have nothing. That's why I always say I would rather someone be unemployed than underemployed. That person who's making $9 an hour, slowly starving to death, would be better off to be fired. Because once you're unemployed, now you've got all your time, and you're desperate. You're going to look for a job. You're going to get it. You're going to network, meet people, you're going to do something. If you're slowly starving to death, 40 hours a week at $9 an hour, and you can't pay your bills, then you're like, but I have a job. At least I have a job. You don't.
You're strangling, like you said, you're strangling yourself. I mean, slowly starving yourself to death. Yeah. What the reason I'm moving to North Carolina is I'm dealing with upset bids. You have to do it in person, and it's people are losing houses for not paying taxes. Someone's passed away, 2016, 2018, and the family can't afford to pay $4,000 in taxes to keep a paid off house. And they're clueless how much money's involved on this, and you're like, I don't mean to say I'm wonderful, but I could find $4,000 on a credit card or something like that, and they're one of the houses I wholesaled I didn't want to deal with. It was a family member living in the grandmother's house, and I'm like, I don't want to send the sheriff's department after them. And it was a $2,300 tax bill. If someone paid it, if the family member had paid it, they would have had a paid off house. And it's just like,
Yeah.
Do you not know? It's just sad. It's super sad.
Yeah. Just reading about that in the paper. They a house that somebody it was a condo. I think the condo was worth 120, and the tax bill was 11,000, and they got it at auction for like 20,000. And they bought a $20,000. They bought a $120,000 condo for $20,000. Yeah. One of the someone met on my podcast, David Haberfeld, who's been on there. Actually, I think he's the only person who's been on my podcast twice, I think, for some reason. But he's a real estate investor, and he'll come into those situations where somebody, the family inherits the house, and it's an asset. It's paid off. It's worth $200,000, but to them it's a headache. Because it's a tax bill, it's got to be maintained, the lawn's got mowed, nobody's living in it, they got to rent it out or manage it or something, and they don't know how to sell it, they don't know how to deal with it. There's multiple siblings involved, they're fighting over it, they don't know what it's worth, and he comes in and can buy it for cash, and he'll buy it for 40% less than market value or something. That someone who knows the real estate market would be like, oh, it's taking advantage of those people. But to those people, they're like, cash, problem gone, windfall.
Yeah.
They don't want to go through the process of listing it and taking 3 months and open houses, and they'd rather have
cleaning out your grandmother's. I just did this for my father, cleaning out my, those little pieces of paper like from the vet society, like pads of paper.
Yep.
They had 4 drawers full of these little pads of paper. I'm like, what am I going to do with this? And I mean, because I set my own hours, it took me 3 weeks to clean out my dad's house. Mm-hmm. I mean, my brother's like, oh, you don't have a full-time job. I'm like, I do work.
You have 2 jobs, as I reckon it.
Yes. Unfortunately, Daniel, you're in California, so you might know this. Unfortunately, unless you don't know this, one of the things that's happening is a lot of these houses where someone's passed away, 800,000 people have died of COVID, and they have reverse mortgages, and people don't know how to handle them. And like you said, the gentleman, David, the reverse mortgages, hey, the person borrowed $70,000 and the house is worth $200,000. Let's foreclose on these reverse mortgages. And it's sad what America's going through right now.
Yeah. Well, people don't understand, and there's no one to guide them because the financial advisors, most of them are just product salespeople.
And financial advisors, the stock, it's a stock market, and this is stock market versus contract law. There's 2 different areas, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they're not actually advising.
The education is a major component. People don't know what they don't know. Then on the back end of that, it comes down to time, called I don't have the time. It's like, yes, you do. It's what you do with your time that matters. And it really is a thing of, if you're in control of your time, you're in control of your life. I have a saying that says, if you're breathing, you need time management, because you're the one that's in control. That got a giggle. So, it is. It affects everybody all the time.
Well, I have a friend. She keeps telling me, you're doing so well. You're making so much money in real estate and everything else. I'm like, come to a Wednesday night meeting. It's on Zoom. And she's like, there's really good TV on Wednesday night. I'm like, reruns, and when you talk about time management, time management and the want, the want has to be there too.
Nice. So, very good. Yep. And speaking of want, a lot of people want this. This is the current bestseller in the world. Get Back an Hour in Every Day.
Congratulations.
By Les Watson, and I may be exaggerating that it's the bestseller in the world, but it is a good book, and it's available on the website.
It's the best-selling book by Les Watson in the world.
That's it. That's the one. Correct.
Yeah. I was. My mind was blown when you said good TV. Like, wait, people still watch synchronous television?
I
I
mean,
haven't had cable since 2009.
To me, the DVR or whatever they call it, because I hate commercials. I'm like, let's watch it this way. And she's a good friend, but we're going two different directions because she'll always be a W-2 employee and not trying to figure something else out. And I don't wish her ill will, but just have a light bulb go off.
Yeah, what could you do with that other hour? Come on, let's go.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, and for me, like I only watch. Hey, she wanted to watch the same amount of TV, but she used streaming services instead of watching it live. That is 18 minutes per hour.
Wow.
Of commercials.
That's true.
Yeah, an hour-long show is 44 minutes long. So if you watch 3 hours of TV and you watch it on Netflix or you watch it on Peacock or Paramount instead of watching it on live television, you just got back an hour right there by not watching commercials.
Nice. Very good. Gee, you could write a book on that.
Yeah. But it's funny. Whenever someone says something like that, I'm like, wow, hold on a minute. Let me fax you something. I'll run it off on the Ditto machine first and then fax it to you about how you can save more time and how you can watch what you want. But also, if you're dependent on
I heard a story that the Pope and one of his bishops still fax back and forth, and they say it's the most secure thing because nobody has fax machines anymore.
Yeah, fax is nearly unhackable unless you like put a tap on the line.
Correct. I'm like, when I cleaned out my father's house, he had two broken fax machines in the garage. Like, boy, I should get these fixed.
Did your father transmit a lot of secret materials?
I have no clue why he had fax machines, and they moved every 5 years because of military. So I don't know how. To give you an example, they were in Anchorage back in 1964 when there was a huge earthquake happened. He has a shipping crate of 78 records, the old-fashioned 78 records, and they're all broken. He moved that at least 11 times. Like, oh my God, Dad, I love you, but what were you doing?
That's funny. All right, so it is 4 minutes to the top of the hour. You guys are too interesting. You kept me too long. We're going to go around quickly. Final notes. Feel free to promote whatever you want to promote in that time. I'm going to start with Daniel because he's below me on the screen.
Thank you very much. If you go to danielalfon.com, I've got a nice giveaway, and that's a cheat sheet about improving your LinkedIn profile headline. And you're welcome to check it out. I've got other articles and stuff on my website. It was a pleasure to speak with all three of you, and I look forward to checking you out.
All right. Les.
Awesome. Les wants to get more time. You can go to the website. There's a lot on the website, but I want to maybe in the show notes, I don't know, Michael, but getmoretime.com.au/podcast. I've got some specific giveaways like a 15-minute free consultation and other things. So getmoretime.com.au/podcast, and I'll give you some stuff. So get in touch. Happy to have a conversation from the other side of the world.
All right. And Sally.
With infinite banking, you can pay down your debt in 1/3 of the time. We also have a specialized trust that defers capital gains indefinitely. I'm a real estate investor. Capital gains is 38.2%. I'm willing to talk to y'all. SallyLiveIWS.com. There's a lot of information on that website. Hopefully, if you go on Monday, we're going to have a whole new website with a free book for y'all, but don't hold your breath. We're still waiting on that. So I just want to say thank you, Michael, for bringing me back. I appreciate it. It's a fun hour.
Thanks for coming back. And so thank you to our guests. This has been great. If you would like to come join the event that I'm going to be, that I'm going back to be an event coach at, go to guywhoknowsaguy.com/links. And there's that and some other cool stuff as well. And guywhoknowsaguy.com, you can get a copy of my book, The Guy Who Knows a Guy, read by the author in MP3 format for free, just by putting your email address at the top of that website. So thank you everyone for being on the show. This has been awesome. Now I don't want to leave, but I have to leave. So much awesomeness in my life today. It is amazing. Full of gratitude. Thank you all for being on the show, and thank you all for watching at home.
Thank you. Take care, y'all.
Thanks. Bye-bye.